Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday evening. It's the 23rd of December 2023, and we're ready for Acts 23. I've entitled this video, Paul Went Through Much Persecution. You know, if you think, and I think, that we've gone through persecution, all we have to do is read the account of Paul, and that'll give us a little different perspective, will it not? Paul went through a lot. He went through a lot. In the 11th verse of that chapter, it says, "In the night following, the Lord stood by him and said, Be of good cheer, Paul, for thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem, so must thou bear witness also at Rome." Yes, even though Paul persecuted the church unmercifully, hauled people into prison and everything else, now the very people that encouraged him to persecute the church was persecuting him. What an about face, huh? What an about face. And Paul, earnestly beholding the council, said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before God until this day. Now, a lot of people have said, how can he say that if he persecuted the church of God? How could he live in all good conscience? Well, you know, he was deceived. He thought he was doing God's service when he was under the law, under the ceremonial law, and promoting all of this circumcision and law service. That's why he could say he was in good conscience. But then Christ came along and showed him something totally different, did he not? And the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth. Then said Paul unto him, God shall smite thee, thou whited wall. For sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law? And they that stood by said, Revilest thou God's high priest? Then said Paul, I wish not, brethren, that he was the high priest. For it is written, Thou shalt not speak evil of the ruler of thy people. But when Paul perceived that the one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee, of the hope and of the resurrection of the dead I'm called in question. Now, Paul knew that the Sadducees didn't believe in the resurrection, and he knew that the Pharisees did. And when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. I guess you call that divide and conquer, right? For the Sadducees say that there's no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. And there arose a great cry. And the scribes that were of the Pharisees' part rose and strove, saying, We find no evil in this man, but if a spirit or an angel has spoken to him, let us not fight against God. And when there arose a great dissension, the chief captain, fearing lest Paul should be pulled in pieces of them, commanded the soldiers to go down and to take him by force from among them and to bring him into the castle. And the night following, the Lord stood by him and said, Be of good cheer, Paul, for thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem, so must thou bear witness also at Rome. And when it was day, certain of the Jews band together and bound themselves under a curse, saying they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. They were pretty stirred up, were they not? And there were more than 40 which had made this conspiracy. So 40 people vowed together that they would not eat or drink until they'd kill Paul. How would you like to have 40 people vow against you to not eat or drink till they killed you? And there came to the chief priests and elders and said, We have bound ourselves under a great curse that we will eat nothing till we have slain Paul. Now therefore ye with the council signify to the chief captain that he bring him down unto you tomorrow, as though ye would inquire something more perfectly concerning him, and we, or ever he come near, are ready to kill him. And when Paul's sister's son heard of their lying in wait, he went in and entered in the castle and told Paul. Then Paul called one of the centurions unto him and said, Bring this young man unto the chief captain, for he hath a certain thing to tell him. So he took him and brought him to the chief captain, and said, Paul the prisoner called me unto him, and prayed me to bring this young man unto thee, who hath something to say unto thee. Then the chief captain took him by the hand, and went with him aside privately, and asked him, What is it thou hast to tell me? And he said, The Jews have agreed to desire thee that thou wouldst bring down Paul tomorrow into the council, as though they would inquire somewhat of him more perfectly. But do not thou yield unto them, for there lie in wait for him of them more than 40 men, which have bound themselves with an oath that they will neither eat nor drink till they have killed him, and now are they ready, looking for the promise from thee. So the chief captain then let the young man depart, and charged him, See thou tell no man that thou hast showed these things to me. And he called unto him 2 centurions, saying, Make ready 200 soldiers to go to Caesarea, and horsemen 70, and spearmen 200, at the 3rd hour of the night. So he was going to command 200 soldiers and 200 spearmen. That's 400 people. And provide them beasts, that they may set Paul on, and bring him safe unto Felix the governor. And he wrote a letter after this manner: Claudius Lysias, unto the most excellent governor Felix sendeth greetings. This man was taken of the Jews, and should have been killed of them. Then came I with an army, and rescued him, having understood that he was a Roman. And when I would have known the cause wherefore they accused him, I brought him forth into their councils, whom I perceived to be accused of questions of their law, and to have nothing laid to his charge worthy of death or of bonds. And it was told me how that the Jews laid wait for the man. I sent straightway to thee, and gave commandment to his accusers also to say before thee what they had against him. Farewell. Then the soldiers, as it was commanded him, took Paul, and brought him by night to Antipatris. On the morrow they left the horsemen to go with him, and returned to the castle. And when they came to Caesarea, and delivered the epistle to the governor, presented Paul also before him. And when the governor had read the letter, he asked of what province he was, and he understood that it was of Cilicia. I will hear thee, said he, when thine accusers are also come. And he commanded him to be kept in his judgment hall. Yes, like I started out in this devotional this evening, Paul had been through a lot, and he was yet to go through a whole lot, and eventually be martyred or be killed for the name of Christ. He had definitely been through a lot, and you never know what we may have to go through in this life as well. You know, we find here that whenever 400 people have to take you and protect you against 40 people who vowed to kill you and not eat or drink beforehand, then you know, I wonder what they thought when they realized that he was no longer available for their killing. You think they started eating and drinking them? I imagine they did, but anyway. Well, there's a lot of people conspiring against God and his people today as well. They're out there, believe me. They're out there. There are people out there that absolutely hate Jesus Christ, and they want to do anything to bring down his followers. Well, I want to encourage you to realize that God sees everything going on in our lives. He has actually ordained all things that have happened for his glory. The Bible tells us he works all things after the counsel of his own will. And so we can realize that he is our protector, he's our shield, he's our defender, he's our Savior, and he's our King. God bless.